As the vision fades, you see the child put on their blindfold back and weakly rest in your hands.
I think she slumps a little bit and then just tears just start spilling from her eyes. Oh, child.
Can I sleep?
Yes, yes.
They're just gonna lie down and curl up on the floor.
She gave me a vision.
A vision?
Yes, we were at the gates of heaven, and the souls of the damned were arrayed all around us, and they were barred. They couldn't get in. They were as far as the eye could see.
A foul portent of these times, I think.
It spilled out down here. It spilled out into the earth, and it split, and it seized, and she said we have to go to Avignon. We have to tell the Pope. We have to tell the Pope, and the Pope has to fix this.
Yes, the Pope must fix many things. I shall accompany you to Avignon.
Yes. You are a knight. You are a knight. You can take us. You can explain.
Hold on. I am no knight. I'm a brother sergeant of the Templars.
You can see she flinches a little bit.
Yes, I am a Templar.
I thought you were
the Order of Solomon's Temple. Yes.
You see her like edge away a little bit.
You believe everything you hear?
I believe that they did bad things.
We shall discuss this another time. I think you will see that I just defeated the spider and saved your life.
Yes,
and
I grab your hand.
Yes.
This is proof. This is yes. You can. Yes, you can save us. You can redeem it. You can. Yes, the unholy brought to holiness. Yes. You can see that she's getting quite flustered.
Giscard, eyes sort of widen and redeem it. And yes, that is all I seek to do, is redeem the name of my brothers, of my order.
Rufina has just been calmly checking the child for like injuries and stuff. Like, if that's what she would do first. It's like just calmly listening to this conversation.
They're thin and weak, and pretty much immediately fell asleep, but there's no, obvious like injuries.
Allow me to introduce myself. I have not told you my name. My name is Giscard of Barfleur and Acker. And you are...
Pleased to meet you. I bob a little bit.
You are Sibyl, yes?
Yes, Sybil, yes.
Yes.
And this is Rufina.
Yes, I am Rufina of Florence.
I must confess, I had seen you on the road. I was keeping a watchful eye as we were traveling the same direction.
Oh, thank God you did.
It is a duty of my order.
Very good of you.
I believe that it is not accident that I found yourselves and we met here.
Oh no!
And we have been given this holy order to go to Avignon.
Well, I suppose this plague is not for humans to cure themselves. These humors have clearly been sent, if you describe as punishment by God, or something to that effect.
I believe the corruption runs deep in the church, in the Catholic faith. And yes, I believe that we must go to Avignon.
Yes, the nuns did, the abbesses did say that this was a curse on the people who did not believe. It seemed harsh at the time, but I look at the bubbling corpse of the spider. Yes, this has to be a sign. Maybe the plague is just the beginning of it.
The divine right of kings has already been broken. The peasants revolt in the streets. God may have abandoned us.
I'm going to look up at the crucifix and sort of say, "We will fix it. We will fix it." And I think she's going to just rifle in her pockets and pull out a handkerchief, and I think she's going to dip it in the blood that spilled. Yeah, and fold it up and keep it.
Well, it sounds like you guys are happy to go to Avignon. We are maybe like a week out to Florence, if maybe a little less, kind of in central Italy. It's kind of on the way to Avignon-ish. Especially this region was hit by the plague extremely hard. More than half of people perished quite quickly, and we are into the third year of the plague at this point. One of the few signs of activity that you see on the road is a cart surrounded by 4 armed men who just scream out to you not to come close because inside of the cart are plague victims. And I don't think you need to be told twice.
Yeah.
As you proceed on the same road through not the densest forest, but like a forested area, you see what appears to be a dozen peasants. They look armed, hand axes, pitchforks, just basically farming tools repurposed as weapons. So they don't make much effort to conceal themselves or hide. They are on the road. How do you react? Do you try to hide? Are you coming in contact?
Bandits, I'm certain.
We are few. It is maybe best to lay low.
I default to what you think. I'm not really an expert at this.
If we are in agreement, I would say we step off the road and we lay low until they pass.
Excellent idea.
Okay. Are you trying to hide?
Yeah.
Okay. As you watch the procession, I guess the leader of the group appears to be a woman who probably was a great beauty in, a few years ago before the plague took its toll on everyone. And she is seemingly arguing with a man taller than her by good 2 feet. He is incredibly tall and has got a very round face with almost no hair. And they appear to be in arguments that, by the way they carry it on, probably have been, kind of going in circles about some kind of Gelf gold that they're after. They seem to be in agreement that they should take the gold because the Gelfs still have the audacity of taxing peasants even in these times. It's more about how much death are the people who carry these taxes and this chest of gold deserve. The tall fellow seems to be of the opinion that they should crush all of their skulls. And the woman seems to be more of we will try to be more sneaky about it. Maybe we'll just do more of a stealth mission, and tries to bring up arguments that, they are all armed, but of course attacking an armored man is a much more difficult task that you may imagine as a peasant with no military experience, and that there is no way that if there was like an open conflict and an open battle, they wouldn't lose men.
What's a Gelf? Sorry.
Guelphs and Ghibellines are the 2 main political factions that are at odds with each other. Guelphs support the papacy and Rome, and the Ghibellines stood more for the Holy Roman Empire, which is still active at the time. And they just loved fighting, like with Florence. Dante was famously exiled because he was a Guelph.
There was this thing saying as well that the Ghibellines were more likely to be like noblemen and like aristocracy, and the Guelphs were more likely to be like merchants and city officials and things like that.
Cool.
So it's like it's not just a political divide, it's also like a class divide.
I'm sure if there is an actual historian listening, they're currently having
having apoplexy, yeah.
But for our purposes, they are 2 factions that don't like each other.
It sounds like they are taxing the peasants at this time.
Yes, they did tend to do that quite a lot. Like a lot of money went back and forth, and there's been the army and all sorts of things. But I mean, we do need resources.
Yes, they are gelfs as well, and it's not really their duty to collect taxes. That's more my people's
Your peoples.
nobility, you know?
Oh, my lady, I had no idea. And he takes a knee.
Somewhat. I'm a fourth daughter. It's not really
Your blood is richer than mine.
true. Yeah. This plague affects us all similarly, though.
Or shall we introduce ourselves to the common people?
Yes, let's keep that nobility thing a bit hushed, though.
Of course, my lady. The child, I'm guessing, is just like strapped onto. Do we have a horse? Do we have horses?
At this point, no. The child has been extremely quiet and mostly just tired. And I mean, maybe it's an act, but they do look like, they've been starving for a month and you've not found any foods this whole time. So, it's pretty believable that they just don't have much energy for explaining. In fact, yeah, I don't think you've had much conversation about the vision or anything beyond their just like maybe very simple yes or no's.
Yeah, I think I would have been prying to begin with just to try and work out exactly what's going on.
Every time to ask like, what's your name? They just kind of start replying and then drift off.
Okay. Yeah, I think she would gravitate to being near the kid.
So you make yourselves known.
Yeah.
Yeah, I pictured you like hobbits hiding from the Nazgul.
Yeah.
So you kind of heard the conversation from like a little down below a hill. But as you come out, you can see that the woman is the leader as she very decisively, like quite a few of the peasants, just freak out from seeing any stranger. And she pretty much immediately positions herself between the rest of the peasants and you as to kind of clearly be the mediator. And the tall guy is slightly behind her and seemingly ready to accept her orders. Hello, my name is Kiara. What are your names?
My name is Giscard.
I am Sybil.
Rafina.
And you have a little girl?
Yes.
She kind of looks at you trying to surmise your like societal status and then just goes out with it. We are looking for some gelfs transporting a chest of our taxes, and we plan to redistribute them more fairly. We are following a carriage. Have you seen it on this road?
If we offer help, is there a chance that we could share?
She looks especially at you, Giscard, with your weapons. And you assume that she's thinking of the same thing of like an armored man counts as 5 peasants, or whatever the math is. Like you are.
I think it's about 30.
The Templars were well renowned as combatants as well.
So there's definitely value in your presence. The man kind of seems to frown, but she touches him in a way that just betrays that she knows that he's about to say something, and she shuts him down immediately. We are happy to have a fair distribution for your efforts. If you plan to help, the more of us there are, the easier this might happen. Have you seen a cart on this road?
Did we? We saw a plague bodies.
It was a cart. They told us it was plague bodies.
It was only, I give like an estimate of how far away it was.
It is a common deception they use to transport chests of gold without attracting attention of brigands, scare people off with rumors of plague.
Do you have a plan?
Well, we have been just discussing it. We were thinking of waiting until it is night, but we could defer to your experience. We are not soldiers.
Well, so there were 4 armed men with this cart. I would suggest that, I am only 1 armed man. How many other armed, trained people have you got with experience? Have any of you been on campaign?
I
personally don't think that military training is that important when it comes to killing. I've always found it comes quite naturally.
Enzo, please let the men speak. None of us are trained.
This guy's gonna give a long, hard look at Enzo.
He returns your with no embarrassment, returns your look and just stares at you for a while.
I have met men like you, Enzo. I mean, I would suggest an ambush. They will have a guard posted at night. They will be ready. So if they hear us approach, the surprise is gone. So I would suggest we try and get ahead of them and set up an ambush.
Well, she kind of looks at the darkening skies. Perhaps we could walk another hour or two and then have a rest. We have been walking this road for a long time. If you would join us for a very humble dinner, we have some cabbage that we will boil for soup.
That would be very kind.
Rufina just sort of holds her tongue.
These people won't be hurt, will they? At least not seriously.
The guards?
I wouldn't worry. Once they are scared and hurt enough, they will not be a problem.
So they will run away?
I do not like to leave any witnesses.
Yeah, you can see that Sybil is very unsure.
Perhaps if we can intimidate them enough, they will lay down their arms, and we can do this peacefully. No.
Once they've laid out their arms, that is the best moment to... Maybe on the battlefield you've used to honor, but I'm used to surviving.
Yes, a tax collector would simply accept the loss and then return a few days later with more armed guards.
I have seen what the Mamluks did to the Christians at Acre, and when they surrendered, and it left a foul taste in my mouth. I would not like to become a party to that.
Foul taste sounds better than nothing in your mouth, which is the state of things a lot of the time. I'll take the gold and have no scruples. If you have scruples, perhaps the...
Please, Enzo, I'm so sorry. We will try to have as little unnecessary bloodshed as possible. We are not here to... We're simply here to survive. This gold will purchase supplies, food, safe passage. It will save us. And that's all we need to worry about. I think we can cut to a couple of hours later as you're discussing the specifics of the ambush, waiting for like the proper 4 a.m. kind of darkness. People just trying to entertain themselves with talk to not fall asleep.
Sybil will take a chance to kind of be alone with the child and just ask, if we do this for him, is it okay? If we do this for the greater good?
I think I'm too young for these kind of questions. Well, we need to get to Avignon, and we need to stand before the Holy Father, and we need to stop the apocalypse. They just kind of trail off.
Yeah. She's kind of, I think she's kind of simultaneously thinking of this kid as like a very innocent child and also as like a spiritual master. So yeah, it's like this weird kind of like dichotomy of like they have all the answers and they're very vulnerable and innocent.
In the meantime, Chiara is talking to, I don't know, either Rufina or Giscard. Who do you think would be in conversation with her?
I think Giscard's busy planning the like
I
route
guess
for the people to get ahead.
Rufina is the one left.
She'll kind of point towards Sybil and the child and is that her son?
It's more complicated than that. It's a very complicated situation. We're trying to travel a long distance. We need supplies for the road.
Where are you off to?
Provence and then Avignon.
Oh, I don't mean to pry, but what is there? Is the plague easier there?
Nothing's worse than Venice, so I hope so.
I hope so too. You can sense in her that there is she definitely lost a lot, especially like the way she's looking at the child, that there is definitely some like memories of other people going on that she's having. And Giscard, you're probably with Enzo. You're, you know, someone who you don't seem to like very much, but he seems to be like the second man. And you mentioned that you're not very tall, so he's like twice your height, and he definitely takes advantage of kind of occasionally just saying something and staring at you from his height.
As I think Giscard is yeah, he's not intimidated by it though. He's like just staring up at this guy, almost bemused at the thought of this man.
I heard that men of your order participate in obscene behaviors, and I just wanted to say that I don't think any behavior can be obscene. I think a lot of the problems with the worlds that we have right now is all the impossible to follow rules that we constructed pretending that we're anything but animals. And I think if your animal instinct is telling you to
Hit
do that,
You want to talk of animals? I believe the true animals are the ones who came in the night on that Friday the 13th and pulled my brothers from their homes, tortured them, held them in cages like animals. They are the true animals, the ones who did that, and then they extracted those confessions, false confessions.
you speak weakness. Your brothers lost because they weren't animal enough.
I've had enough, okay? You are no better than the greedy King Philippe on his throne. We will help you because you are in a position that we need mutual assistance. After that, we will part ways, and I hope if I ever see you on the road again, I will kill you.
Well, who knows how an ambush might go? You never know. Things in the dark can happen quickly, and danger can come from every angle, you know?
So it can.
Just to see how this ambush is going to go, I'd like you to make some kind of role of you explaining the plan to a bunch of peasants and just to kind of see like how well this plan is going to be executed.
So I'm going to take some inspiration from the Battle of Preston Pans. And we're going to try and flank around on the high ground overnight under cover, so that at dawn they find themselves with forces coming down the hill upon them. Yeah, the two riders stronger together or sergeant using military training.
Sure.
I'll use sergeant. Okay. Oh. Okay. One victory. Everything else was like threes and fours
Oh.
and twos.
This is, like I said, this was more the tactical side. So something will go very wrong during the, preparation stage.
Just be that me and Enzo end up
Yeah, competing.
wailing into each other. Or Enzo probably is just going to do his own thing and ignore me, right?
Are you more the general here or like the first guy to run?
I think I would be like directing people along the route, well, using a peasant who knows this area better, along a path to get above them. And then I think I would be going down with the intent of engaging the armed people because these peasants are not trained.
Okay.
Yeah.
What would your roles, do you think, be, Sybil and Rafina, by the way?
Bulking out numbers.
Yeah. I have a stick. I'm standing in the back.
Sure.
Yeah.
We're just making this look more threatening.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So I think what happens is you assume that your orders were understood and listened to. And in fact, after you've explained everything and kind of assume that this is what's going to happen and they will wait for your signal and then charge, the group seemingly then lingered more to listen to Enzo, who just explained that maybe, you're in armor and they're not in armor. And maybe they should let you and then kind of come after you and see what's what. So as you charge, you see the four. I think like at least one of them is properly asleep, but at this point, just like the three armored men get up. They're sitting by a small fire. And as you look behind, you see like good like 20, 30 feet behind you is Enzo with his arm crossed, just kind of watching what's happening. And a few of the peasants are kind of going your way, but they're more like sticking out their pitchforks as far as they can and kind of give you moral support rather than actual tactical support. But considering that you're currently stuck fighting three men, I'll say for this one, this is going to be a difficulty 4 because this is, you're fighting 3 people at the same time, and these people know what they're doing with weapons. This is pretty significant.
I'm definitely taking heart to life devoted to others since I'm the one carrying this fucking attack.
We're cheering for you.
I'm going to go with my sergeant training, I think. My virtue. Okay. I mean, it's definitely not a success. I mean, it was a tall order to get 4 6s, right? Or 4. So I got 2 6s.
If you want, you can use the call-in on the dream.
And how much corruption would that give?
That would be 3 corruption then.
Okay, no, it's great. I'll go with the dream. I'm going to flash back to watching myself almost from afar at the Battle of Acre, where the Mamluks are charging down the street, and there's a similar situation. The defenders are sort of scattering, and then there's this Templar in black armor who starts to rally them together and then holds this part of the street while people are running down to the boats. And I think that kind of moment is stark in my mind as I sort of imagine myself or see myself here ahead of everyone. People not willing to kind of engage in this, and I run in, and it's almost like you could see them as the mace is swinging against the Mamluks. It kind of flashes, and it's the same kind of movement against these caravan guards.
So cool.
So like,
Sure.
Parallel moves.
Though I guess there must be some darkness to this too, because in calling up on the dream, you do get a bunch of corruption. So maybe, you lose yourself in this memory a little bit until, what you're doing doesn't even feel real. And then you just look down and there's 3 like horribly scarred, they're not just killed, like their faces are beaten in. And there's the last, armored man who's just waking up to see that all his friends have been turned into bloody paste. What are you gonna corrupt, just out of curiosity in this case?
I think I'm going to take it to the thing that I used, which was Sergeant. It was, ostensibly the duty of the Templars to protect pilgrims and travelers on the road and from people trying to steal their gold. And I've just used my training and my skills to steal a bunch of gold off.
As you're breathing heavily and watching the 4th armed man that clearly isn't picking up his weapon and is just kind of standing there in shock, and he barely sees Enzo coming from the back, taking his skull and just starting repeatedly crushing it into the carriage until the man just stops resisting and getting up. That was beautiful. You tapped into that animalistic nature that we've been talking about. Maybe we're not so different, you and me. Maybe you speak of high ideals in your brothers, but just be honest, you enjoyed the smell of iron in the air.
And this guy's kind of his mouth's opening and closing. He's like trying to come up with a retort, but really he knows the truth of the word that in that moment he was very like alive. And in that moment,
Kiara like she saw that that the ambush didn't get caught, like, so she tries to, like, she steps in between you two to prevent anything potentially happening, and quite quickly begins to direct the efforts on that this has been a success, and kind of to quickly forget that there's been some rough patches. So she goes,
Well, Rufina's not going to let her get away with doing fucking nothing in his ambush. So we're definitely positioning ourselves as we did most of the work, we deserve most of the gold.
Okay, what are you doing to stand your
Rafina's
ground?
like, as was it Kiara starts talking, Rufina walks up and goes, "Well, it was the brave Sir Knight who did most of that fighting.
Again, I cannot claim myself
The
as a
brave Sir
knight.
Sergeant who did most of that fighting. It really."
Yes, well, let's all take a step back and we have reason to believe that there is so much gold in this chest that we will have no problem in sharing it all between us and keeping everyone happy. Okay, so let's just take a beat. We've suffered no.
Very well, we can split the gold, but the horses are ours.
Well, let's just start with. Okay,
Very well, we start with the gold.
if you would like to open the chest to make sure that I am not trying to deceive or anything, and that we will have an honest and fair distribution, please go ahead.
Very well.
I assume the keys are on that gentleman's. She kind of, is a bit squeamish about what the gentleman's face currently looks like, which is, like bloody soup. But there is definitely like keys on his belt.
Cool, yeah, Rufina goes, takes them, looks for the chest in the carriage.
Yeah, you see this pretty large chest, like definitely too heavy for one person to carry around.
Let's crack it open.
What you see inside as you open the chest isn't gold. Roughly the length of your whole arm and more or less the same thickness. It's this extremely pale ringed worm.
Huh.
At the very end of the worm, though, it looks bloated and dead, but it looks like a newborn's face. And the whole thing
Oh.
is moving and kind of writhing at the bottom of the chest, trying to get out. The face, there is something slimy and wet around it, but it doesn't look like it has human expression. It simply has a face. That's what you see.
Fab. Yeah, okay. Wow. So, I don't know. This is not gold. This is some spawn of Satan.
What do you mean?
Investigate yourself if you dare. For that is...
It's,
Oh.
Rufina, is it another spider?
worse almost. The land is corrupt.
There's a thin voice of, "Don't touch it. Just leave it alone."
Who's there?
You can almost hear the regret of the voice announcing itself.
Yeah.
But then you see like a very sorry shape of the driver, not one of the armed men, but the driver of the cart, who's kind of trying to make himself look very small. And he comes and, doesn't lock the chest, but like closes the lid and comes down. You know of St. Barbara. And I think Giscard is not quite local, but Sybil and Rafina are quite local, correct?
From here, yeah.
Yeah, from here.
Then you would absolutely be aware of Saint Barbara, a saint from maybe like the 8th century or so-ish.
Vintage.
Definitely. But she's, famous in the region for, and, it's like quite a classic story. She was this nun and she had healing powers. People would come to her for healing. She would touch them. And then, of course, people who were against the church caught wind of that and tortured her and then burned her. And even as she was burning, she never renounced Christ. And her remains that were this essentially like corpse that was burned, this withered black skeleton, has been kept in a nunnery in the area ever since. And people would, make pilgrimages to it to pray for health. And, it's a great honor to touch her hand. So that's Saint Barbara. Well, Saint Barbara. Well, she apparently produced this.
When did this happen?
She made it appear a few weeks ago, and a lot of the nuns were uneasy. So they've requested us to come and bring it to the Bishop of Florence to investigate.
We should follow.
Take it to the authorities.
Yes, yes.
I have a question for the leader of the peasants. What was her name again?
Chiara.
Chiara. Chiara, you said that these people were taxed you. What do you know of this? Your story does not align.
You see her, and she's not really listening. She's just looking. This whole time she's been looking at the chest, and she comes to it, just kind of not paying you much attention, and she opens the casket and looks down with unmistakable, like, loving sight. And she gently puts her hands into the chest and kind of cooing over this worm that as she kind of like has to arrange in her arms, and it begins to kind of rock it a little bit and be like, "It's okay, little one."
Does she look entranced?
There is a strange glint in her eye, yeah.
Okay.
In the meantime, I think from the murmur of the peasants, you would gather that this was not the intended result. They
Okay.
assumed that there was going to be taxes here, and this was a surprise because the rest of the peasants are shocked and, various emotions, disgusted, but also angry that this isn't gold. Though some of them are probably starting to like, well, maybe this could be turned into gold if it was sold to somebody. Did you say that that Saint Barbara produced it? Yes. She gave birth. As I am told, it was quite a disturbing scene.
I don't think that's natural.
It doesn't have to be. The Mother Mary, she gave birth, and that was miraculous. But we can't know. We should take it to the bishop and find out.
Think we should smash it.
Big surprise. Enzo wants to smash the thing.
You like it?
I'm not saying I like the worm. I'm saying maybe we don't need to smash everything that we come across, no?
I don't know. All I know is I don't want to see that thing grown up.
This is true. I think that maybe there is some value in seeking some ecumenical support.
Sybil is nodding.
In the meantime, Chiara is definitely calling this thing Francesco and is.
She picked out a name.
It seems less that she picked a name and more that she's calling it a familiar name.
Ah, okay.
We should maybe come up with a cover for what we are transporting. Plague victims,
No,
maybe.
you're not transporting this. This isn't.
We need to take this to Florence. This is not natural. It's not safe to leave it with you.
I think my son, who I lost, is quite safe with me, thank you. And
Was your son always a worm?
she looks offended, and like, by the way she looks at it, you doubt that she sees a worm.
Huh.
Yeah, I think Sybil will try and tap a little bit into this mother's instinct. And similar to what you were saying of like trying to take it to the bishop for being you were saying about being baptized.
Do you want to also
Say that-
appeal the fact that Enzo wants to smash it?
Yeah. So that's actually a very good idea. Yeah. So I'll basically be saying like, well, you can stay here in the company of someone who wants to kill your child, or you can come with us, and maybe your child is gifted. Maybe he can rejoice in the love of God and join the church one day. If you come with us, he could rise you up. You would be the mother of holiness.
I'll say this will be maybe difficulty 3. Definitely
Okay.
hard to convince someone who thinks that you're gonna sell their child to a bishop. But
Yeah.
also she's definitely not in the most lucid state.
Right. So as she's describing it, in the back of her head, she has this image of her having quite like a happy time with probably a boy at that point, probably like 15, 16. And then it will cut to her in a stone room surrounded by nuns, and she's giving birth herself.
Immaculate conception, I
Yeah.
assume.
Oh, completely. And then that baby being taken away and being gifted to the church.
Okay.
So she's kind of almost like betraying it, but also like trying to empathize. Okay. Oh God, no. 1, 2, 2 successes. Oh no, yeah, no, 2 successes. Bugger.
Well, you can always turn it into a success, but that would be quite a lot of corruption to take.
Wow.
I think she'll do it because her dream is to reclaim her lost son. This thing is maybe tapping into my conviction, and I'm also realizing that I'm willing to lie and cheat and sacrifice for people to try and get what I want. Yeah, so she's going to end up with 4 corruption. So what's that going to be? So
Yeah, what are you corrupting?
it'll be the Madonna and Child, I think. Madonna and Child is now blacked out completely.
Nonetheless, Kiara, which I don't know, maybe it's your arguments, or maybe it's just that you sound like the safe person to be with at the moment, and she's not really focusing that much on the content of your words, but she moves towards you. Enzo doesn't seem to be needing that much. He seems to start walking off. Basically, I don't think that anyone wants to be around Kiara right now.
Yep.
So I think if she just climbs into the cart, cradling her warm, I think everyone just kind of leaves eventually.
As most people do when you just sit
because-
cradling your worm.
because people have complex feelings on this, and probably argue until sunrise whether they should help or whatever, or if she's always been crazy, or she's just been like what. There must be a lot of different angles within this little community, but at the end of the day, nobody wants to be around you and your warm. So they leave.
What happened to the driver?
Oh, good question. What do you want to happen to him?
I mean, he was wanting to deliver it, right?
Yeah, I think we could keep the driver.
He knows the way.
Yeah. And he can vouch for us that, like,
Yeah, let's leave it at there with you on the merry roads to plague, Riz, and Florence.